1,342 days. Okay, so no sign of life. No sign of life, and we're moving forward. Let's see if I'm on Facebook, if everything is working. Of course, this is streaming to um, other platforms. Okay. And thank you so much for coming on. Everything looks good. And yeah, today seemed like a very, every day is an interesting day right now with the Francis Scott Bridge being destroyed. There's lots and lots of talk about how that happened. And of course, uh, going through 4 years of this and seeing what happened during 2020 with the ridiculous insanity of COVID. Also, knowing that, all the past incidences like the Walmart mass shooting of August 3rd, 2019. That's just such a false narrative that the media has put out there. That is not what happened at all. And if you do a little bit of research, you get very suspicious of who orchestrated that Walmart mass shooting. And, I just pray every day because it seems like it that weapons came from Fort Bliss to be used on that day. Brown tip bullets at the scene, that's what we heard. And of course, and it wasn't me saying that military weapons were there on August 3rd, 2019. It was Glendon Oakley Jr. Glendon Oakley Jr., who, if you haven't watched his videos, they are a must watch. And on April 8th, which is very interesting, April 8th, because April 8th is going to be the solar eclipse. But on April 8th in 2020, he was found dead in his barracks room on Fort Bliss. And that was just a couple months before Richard went missing. And of course, being a whistleblower and having Glendon Oakley Jr. found dead in the barracks, and the word that we're getting back, and we're trying to corroborate everything that we're saying, and we're just trying to be very authentic with everything that we're doing. And I will tell you this: I will I will defend Richard until my last breath. He is my son. I will defend him. And so that's being authentic. And what happened to him was absolutely murderers. Murderers, destroyers went after Richard and took his life away. That is what happened. And I will defend him. And all the other stuff is just redirection or a diversion. And, I'm just going to stay, Team Fine Richard Halliday, praise God. Um, we are going to stay focused on exposing his murderers, okay? And it's just very clear that Richard was very afraid. I don't want to really say afraid, but concerned for his life. And I remember him telling me that he couldn't leave his. It was just too dangerous. He couldn't leave his barracks room, and to find out that he was under a security detail because of his whistleblowing. And of course, with Glendon Oakley Jr. being found dead in his barracks room at Fort Bliss, can you imagine? And then, you know, with the breaches in security on Fort Bliss and the dirty agent Marlon Soto in charge of CID, with dirty agent Tavita Nusa having an adulterous sexual um, sexual activity with Lalani Hart, who absolutely knows Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And Lalani Hart is getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret. And there's all kinds of criminal activity being organized and um, allowed to happen on Fort Bliss. Absolutely. And so Richard was absolutely put under security detail, but the day that he went missing, the security detail didn't even show up, right? Um, so that is that is a real failure of leadership, a real failure of leadership. So this, you know, approaching how are we going to expose the murderers, right? The criminal murderer, especially if they have the FBI dirty agent Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. with his wife that works security, well, intelligence on Fort Bliss, right? And is absolutely has conflicts of interest with Bradford Bugado and the G3 of the 32nd AdCom, right? Who's up to no good, who's absolutely up to no good. And his father in law walks into, here it is, walks into a Dollar General while we were there and, and says that the FBI, that he's with the FBI, he's an FBI agent. Of course, conflicts of interest with Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. Okay. It's all like all in the family, all in the family. They're all you want to know a lesson on nepotism, go to Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. You'll find a big lesson on nepotism, that's for sure. um and you know he walks into a Dollar General and says, he's FBI, and that the FBI found Richard in Juarez, and it's his remains. Of course, he's dead. And um, and then we receive the Semifo um, autopsy through intelligence, and they don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit that the truth, right? They want to cover it up, because to expose Richard is to expose the criminal activity on Fort Bliss and in El Paso, which would expose the criminal activity that orchestrated the Walmart mass shooting of August 3rd, 2019. We are getting some news, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to put it out there, and if you've heard of this, please let me know. But it seems that Dallas Hart got his teeth bashed in and his nose broken. Um, yeah, I'm wondering if Richard put up a fight. I'm wondering if he did. I'm wondering. So if anyone knows about that, about Dallas Hart getting his teeth knocked in and his nose broken, um, yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to know, and I'd like to know those dates. I think that that's really interesting information, because, as of course, Richard obviously has been murdered and lost the battle, but um, it's not outrageous. It's not unreasonable to think that Richard, being a black belt, put up a fight. He might have been overcome, since what we heard is that there's multiple um, multiple people involved, and it's not unreasonable to think that, okay, uh, he caused some injury. I know that the case of Austin Hawk that happened just a month before Richard, but at Fort Stewart, which I think is Fort Stewart. Yeah, Fort Stewart still his name. Fort Stewart. They changed all these names, right, because of all the breaches, the systematic breaches in our security of our military installations. Um, but he, of course, was brutally murdered in his barracks room um, by his former sergeant. But he absolutely was a warrior and put up a fight and caused the sergeant to have injuries. And so I'm just wondering if Richard caused some injuries. So that is, intelligence is coming in every day. The big news, I think, today is really President Trump. I think Truth Social making money, being put in the market, and getting the support that it did, that it that it had a very good. I think today was the first day that made him money is very interesting, and um, you know he was what I remember, because I'm not really, even though I'm a supporter of President Trump because of his financials. I've always said that the first thing that we did when, after everyone was going crazy, because he said, I'm going to build the wall and make Mexico pay for it. And I went, oh my gosh, he's going to have to watch his back. He just exposed a deficit that we have with Mexico. For me, it was always financials. It was always about the debt and that he wanted to reduce American debt, which is a really wonderful thing. And this was in 2015, the first thing I did after that happened, and everybody was kind of going crazy in the news cycle, I looked up his financials, and I've even posted them up, and they're the financials from 2015, and they were just amazing, remarkable, absolutely remarkable. I mean, they just went on and on and on and on about, on and on and on, business after business and property after property, and all over the world. And he really has built just an amazing, amazing portfolio. And not many people can do that. And even if they get $1 million or a couple $1 million from their parents, they're not able to do that. And you can say what you want about making deals and this and that and the art of the deal. And the fact is I don't see too many other politicians that even have a tenth of the portfolio that President Trump has. And, so that tells you something that they like, get their wealth from, I guess, insider trading. Can I say that? Can I say that online? Can I say, oh, seemingly they get their wealth from insider trading for being in Congress, and knowing what's going to happen. Um, so to have someone run for president with such a portfolio, amazing portfolio, yeah, it was like, okay, let's give him a chance, right? Let's give him a chance. And it was good. It was really good until 2020, right? Until really, I think, August 3rd, 2019. I think it was like the morning star. You talk about the morning star of the Reformation, the morning star of the attack on President Trump, the full-fledged attack on President Trump, because August 3rd, 2019, the Walmart mass shooting, absolutely, when you do some research, obviously, obviously, it was an attack. It was orchestrated um, to attack uh, President Trump and to uh, sway the election cycle. Absolutely, because they made it about race, they made it about white supremacy. And but they picked Patrick Wood Crucius, and it just didn't fly. It just didn't. There is no way, no way. Their casting was bad. Their casting was bad. And I hate to use the word casting, um, but their scapegoat, because people did get killed, people did die, uh, was shot and died. And just really, really sad for El Paso, for America. Um, and these really, really evil, it's just so upsetting when you think about it. These really evil people to orchestrate it, right? And now we have this Francis Scott Key Bridge, and everybody is like very scrutinizing it to the T. They're so sick and tired of being fooled, and um, being attacked, and then people calling it an accident or something, or going in with full force with the military, or whatever. But because our military is being led by foreign and domestic enemies, that's very clear too, because why would we have military installations that are unsecured and our soldiers at such risk for rape, for um, every program is a failed program. And the suicide rate is skyrocketing, and our Patriot missile was blown to smithereen by the Ice Condor on Ice Condor Day, right? Ice Condor got our Patriot missile. Our Patriot missile didn't even have a chance. Didn't e- It's archaic now. It's archaic. And, that is just so embarrassing, because we spend trillions of dollars, uh, you know, year after year on our military. And our soldiers, our beloved volunteer sons and daughters, are not being protected. They're at risk by their own, like Richard, and our arms are getting archaic, because they're selling the brown tip bullets, and the other things they're trafficking and pocketing money, and seemingly. And I think that was very obvious with the exit out of Afghanistan, not taking the equipment with them. No, because they already had it sold, I think. I think they already had it sold, and, because any four-star general in their right mind would not leave billions of dollars of worth of weapons and equipment behind, right? No, no, not Americans. We can move that out of there, and it's it's just obvious that something is really amiss with the leadership in the military, and of course in Congress and the oversight. And yesterday I really focused on Veronica Escobar, and how she breached the security of the Texas Constitution in order to put in a non citizen in a judicial position, give him so much power as a chief medical examiner. And then now we have all these problems, and we're going to have all these problems with all these cases, because he's illegitimate, right? He's illegitimate, and he's part of all these cases, including the Walmart mass shooting case. So he's botched it. He's botched these cases. And so, yeah, I think everyone needs to point their finger at Veronica Escobar if they are upset that the Walmart mass shooting case has not gone forward, because it's absolutely botched case before it even began, because she allowed the appointment of a non-citizen, breaking the security of the Texas Constitution, when appointing the Mario Rascon Ortiz to the chief medical examiner judicial position. So, yeah, right. Giving him the right for subpoena, giving him the right to give out warrants. I mean, very serious stuff. Um, so, when you wrap your head around what's going on, how could she do that? And how for the Walmart mass shooting, she refused to even meet with President Trump when he came down. You know, um, she is just up to no good. She's just up to no good, and I think that one criminal, the one criminal that murdered her neighbor, I guess, I think he said it right. I think he said it right, and I'm not allowed to repeat it um, on this, but something not right is going on, and all indications, you know them by their fruit. All the fruit is pretty rotten. So something is really stinky in Denmark. That's a good saying too. Uh, so going back to Trump, he was also retaliated against. We saw it clearly right in front of our eyes. We don't have to even guesswork it, right? That he was banned from Twitter, that he was the news cycle. And so he got to work with Devin, I think his name is Devin, um, and put together with lots of talents, Truth Social, and so now it went public, and he made loads of money. Uh, you know, he's like, I am not going to lose all of my data, all of my followers, my ability of freedom of speech. I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to make my own. I'm going to use my money, and I'm going to make my own Truth Social. And good for him. Good for him. So I think that that was a real win-win for him. And because he's been so retaliated against, and of course, Biden, his Department of Justice is so corrupt that, and I think it's going to, it's not going to change overnight under President Trump. Well, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. He's just a remarkable person. So we'll see. We'll see. But we can't stay the way we are, whether you like Trump or not. And he is the choice. He is the choice. Um, so today, having a good day, I know that when you have a day like today, it makes you kinder, it makes you happier. And so when you're kinder and happier, you're more prone to do the right thing. When you're miserable and in debt, then, you commit all kinds of crimes. So, I'm hoping that this is very good for him, and that he does get into office. But we're not, you know, just waiting for that. We're not waiting for that. We are working behind the scenes in many different directions to get justice for Richard. Absolutely. But this is it's always good to have a pickup day, right? Where uh, you have some food for the soul, food, to move forward through the swamp, to get justice. But we are very confident that justice is definitely coming our way. And the amount of evidence that we have collected, we've put them in three different categories: hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. And we have been collecting that and putting that all together for years, for years. And so it's starting to come in handy. People are wanting it now, because we're getting the institutional help to move forward, to expose um, those that participated in the disappearance, um, and the murder of Richard, and also in the sabotage, the obstruction of justice in his case. So that's very, very good news. And, um, when we get some breaking news, I think you're the first ones to know. And with Trump coming in, with him having a good day, I think the tide is changing, and people are realizing that maybe they need to roll it back a little bit, their criminal activity, and do the right thing. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for coming on. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.